So you did a video of someone from the BATFE trying to take the slide off of a Glock pistol.
Yeah, the entire thing was just a joke.
Bless his heart, correct. I had someone ask me literally just now, do you think within the next 10, 20 years, institutional gun knowledge in the legal system, whether it's BATFE, whether it's the court system, whether it's prosecutors, et cetera, do you think that's going to get even worse than it is now? Or is it going to stay the same? Is it maybe going to get better?
Well, I don't think it's certainly going to get better. I don't know how it could get worse. There just seems to be a group of people who don't want to know anything about guns. Now, 100 million gun owners in America, that's the number that keeps bouncing around out there. That means the majority of Americans are not gun owners and therefore have little interest or knowledge in how firearms work. You see that in the movies all the time. You see that in things that we get from advertising agencies and stuff like that. They just don't know how they work or how they're supposed to work. That guy from ATF was supposed to know how a Glock pistol comes apart and be able to do that. If he is a certified sworn law enforcement officer who's carrying a gun, he should be doing the maintenance on his gun. He should be able to take that apart. But yeah, just idea, our own president saying that AR-15 ammunition will blow your arm clean off and put football size holes in people. I think the more hyperbole we get in the media, the less true gun knowledge we have.
I think what makes this almost different than almost anything else is there aren't a lot of things that you hear people say they're proud to not know anything about.
Yeah.
But like when you're being that guy in the movie, like, yeah, that wasn't an AK-47, that was an AR-15. They say like, yeah, well, I don't know that stuff. Like they're proud to not know that stuff. But still, it's my curiosity, maybe whatever. When I see something like that video, I want to think through how did that happen?
Yeah.
How did this guy end up being the one? I was at a trade show once, and it was a sight company. They're like, well, look at these. And I take, oh, that's really cool. And I pass the gun to someone else, and it had never occurred to me that even though he is at SHOT Show, and we are at a booth of a very famous front and rear pistol sight maker, that he'd never held a gun. That wasn't part of his job.
Yeah.
He did something else. So now we have this immensely awkward moment of a guy so first gun, huh?
Yeah.
Like, yep. So for all I know, just to be the devil's attorney for a second, and by the way, I love when things like this happen. That's absolutely hilarious to watch a guy just terribly worse than any police recruit try to take apart a Glock. For all I know, he carried a SIG. For all I know, right. So there was, and this is, I'm borderline demanding an explanation at this point. No, you can tell me. How did this happen? But if that's the person who's also in charge of making the rules, it gets a lot, or enforcing them at least, it gets a lot less funny. And if that's the person who is the expert witness for the prosecution and you lawfully defended yourself, and now that guy is the one telling you that, no, here's what's true. You would hope that would help your case, but it doesn't.
And maybe just because I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, I'm becoming a better person.
That's all you can try to do.
And that maybe under the lights of the camera and the clearly pre-staged theatrics that was that interview for whatever Sunday morning show that they were on, maybe he forgot to take the magazine out of the pistol, which would then not allow the slide to come all the way forward or something, because he was just nervous about being on camera. Because I don't know if you watched the original video.
It's been a while since I watched it.
And then my response video to that. But
yes.
they had a M249 squad automatic weapon laying on the table, which they never referenced. It was just put there to be scary.
Just to set the mood.
Yeah, these are the guns that we're finding. And then they started talking about Mexican drug cartels. And I'm thinking, well, rather than create laws that stop you and me from having a gun. Maybe we could do something about those Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah.
There might be something we could do.
Or we could be like, hey, man, don't you work with the government? Could you ask him to stop sending guns to Mexico?
Yeah.
Because I know a guy named Mike that the government made him start selling guns to the cartel.
Yeah.
And then we're going to blame it on him.
Yeah.
You can look up what book that is.
Yeah, that's out there. That's Fast and Furious, and then not the movie.
Yeah.
Check that out. But yeah, the original question is gun knowledge going to improve? All knowledge only improves if people are interested. And government folks, prosecutors, stuff like that, are actively not interested in guns and how they work and what they do and what good they are for society.
Well, and unfortunately, it's one more way in which we're going to continue to get siloed away from each other. Is there are the people you just mentioned, people in government, people in prosecutors' offices, et cetera, who are actively disinterested. They don't want to know. And then there are going to be, shoot, for the last 20 years, there's been an incredible level of accuracy on firearms facts in video games. We have an article coming up about this in the magazine, how a lot of people have gotten into shooting from the historical end, from the video game end, because they see a gun in a video game about World War I or World War II or the Old West or whatever that they really liked. It's the modern equivalent of, why do you own so many lever guns and single action revolvers? I loved Bonanza when I was 9.
Yeah,
it's the modern version of
Yeah.
that.
If you think you're using the right caliber for self-defense, think again. And you might not even know it, but your ammo could be putting you at severe disadvantage when you pull the trigger. Click the link in the description below to watch this short, unbiased video comparing the top 4 self-defense calibers and see if you end up changing handguns.
So I think that, is gun knowledge going to increase, decrease, or stay the same? I think on net it's going to stay the same, because there are the actively disinterested who are proud of not knowing, and there's going to be more of them. But there's also going to be a lot more people who, I have a half a dozen different friends who grew up in non-gun, not anti-gun, but non-gun households, who it was video games.
Yeah,
Video games. I hate video games. I think they're one of the greatest wastes of you name it. But I have to admit, they've gotten a lot of people into guns.
And, the gun companies are now paying for gun placement in the video games so
Yeah.
that people can see them and then get interested in and perhaps buy their firearms. Great. I'm all for anything that helps people sell more guns and that puts more guns in the hands of more educated and trained people who actually care about what they're doing with their firearms. I want to see that. I want good, honest, relatively smart people to own guns. And
Right.
I say relatively smart because I'm not sitting here calling myself smart because I know a lot about guns. I know very little about, nuclear fission or things like that.
It's when you're fishing for nuclears.
Okay. And now you just completely threw me off because now I want to go fishing. But yeah, it's relatively smart people who care about what they're going to do with their guns and understand that in the right hands, a firearm does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is level the playing field and protect the innocent.